whatever. All that I would quickly emphasise is that there are a lot of kids' games in this. This is not suitable for children.
Yeah. Yeah,
the amount of people who said, "Oh, put this on with the family tonight." I'm like, "Are you sure?
No.
Maybe don't do that."
Very good warning.
I think many people are drawing quite close associations with it with the Hunger Games, but actually that's its trick. You go in thinking it's going to be incredibly violent, and it is, but it looks at so many issues and so much complexity. It looks at the state of capitalism, the division between the very, very rich and the very, very poor. It looks at debt. It looks at different forms of political structure. It looks at kind of violence itself as a form of entertainment is under the microscope. And it looks at how much would you willingly compete, trying to get big success and big wins, whilst also knowing that other people are having bad things happen to them at the result. It's a real moral sort of drama-based thing that no one really expects.
And it has been, as we mentioned in the introduction, Scott, hugely successful. Number one in the US, number one in so many countries around the world. And it's, you know, you could watch it, there's always these sort of strange dub versions, but you can also watch it with subtitles. Sometimes that's a bit more dramatic, isn't it? Because you get to follow it properly, I think.
I'm a firm believer in watching shows with the subtitles on. You know, turn the dubbing off, put your phone away, you can't go wrong, just because you feel much more immersed in it. And I also think that there is a growing appetite for this sort of thing. Over the last few years, we've had the rise of Scandinavian noir dramas that allow you to feel really immersed in those. They've been on BBC4. Then we had Deutschland 83 on Channel 4, which was a big hit. And that was when broadcasters were starting to think, hang on, we don't have to remake shows. If we're showing it in another country, we can actually have the original with subtitles on and people feel immersed in it. But this is also playing to Netflix's strength. You know, they are able to have a show that it can be in every single country. They've spent more than $500 million on shows that are from South Korea because they know it's global appeal. And these shows have such universal themes, I think. You know, they're very aesthetically good, but they're really well acted, really well written, and that's why I think it's becoming such an obsession at the moment.
And it is an obsession, isn't it? Because if you wrote down kind of the premise of this on a piece of paper, you might look and think, that just sounds mad. You would never expect it to be as popular as it's been. How did it build? Was it word of mouth to start with?
I would say so, yes. I mean, I think Netflix had great expectations of this performing well within Asia, but 95% of all audiences have been actually outside of South Korea. And I think it's the fact that people have really taken to how dark the overall premise is. Because at the moment, when I speak to TV people, they're saying, you know, after the sadness of the pandemic, people want uplifting shows, they want escapist shows.
Yeah, this is like the opposite of that.
Exactly, but that's what makes it distinctive.
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes it stand out from the crowd. I think now what's going to happen is all the rival broadcasters going, okay, well, what does Squid Game have that we can do? And I now sort of think, oh, we're now going to have very depressing dramas on the way because they're going to try to copy.
It's also such a brutal show, and yet it's the whole premise is they're playing like games that kids would play. And the other big question that all the fans are talking about is second series. It seems that when you've got something this successful, surely they'll have something else up their sleeve.
So I'm not going to say anything that would give an indication about what might happen. I think there are some unexplored themes, some open questions from the first series. The creator has said that he's interested, but also making this series was a great amount of stress for him. I think Netflix are obviously very keen to be a second series, seeing that this is on set to be their most popular show ever. All that I would quickly emphasise is that there are a lot of kids' games in this. This is not suitable for children.
Yeah, well
the amount of people who said, "Oh, put this on with the family tonight." I'm like, "Are you sure?
No.
Maybe don't do that."
Very good warning, Scott. Thank you. Always lovely to talk to you. Squid Game is available
Thank
on
you,
Netflix.
Scott.